the final episode of Home But Not Alone in 2020, I would like to take a step back and reflect a bit more on what the year was for us in the electronics industry, both business and privately. But more importantly, stay on the progress course and get some wisdom on human relations and leadership from an icon of the EMEA market. Therefore, I'm very happy to announce that my guest is Mr. Csaba Harmat. Welcome, Csaba. How are you, sir?
Thanks. I'm fine, but I'm sure that you are always overrate me.
Never, sir.
So I'm like everybody, locked up, no sport, the kitchen is closed, the fridge is too close. But anyway, we are running quite well. We were worrying about the home office, but it looks that for a lot of employees, the remote working is actually more productive.
Yeah, same here. I fully agree with you. And I think this will stay beyond. So this is probably something, positive that will stay with us.
There are some positive effects also, this crazy situation, this COVID. Yeah, that's right.
Fully agree with you. So Csaba, you currently hold the position of chief editor of Magyar Electronica, but prior to that, you spent a big chunk of your career in the distribution business. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about your journey in the market and the most important lessons you gained?
Sure. How to start? First of all, I was an electric engineer. Graduated on the Technical University Semiconductor branch. I started to work as a test engineer for analog and consumer integrated circuits, both in wafer and or die and package form. I was doing also some application job. Then I became a marketing manager for semiconductor devices. That means that I was buying, importing raw materials for semiconductors, means pure wafer, chemicals, lead frames, bonding wires, materials, so almost everything. And I was responsible for selling semiconductor devices in Hungary and also export. I was moving to Elbatex. It was an Austrian Swiss smaller distributor, and my responsibility was application and sales in Hungary. Mid of August 95, I joined to Spörle, or I could say today that it's now Aero Spörle or Aero, as the regional sales manager for Hungary. I was the first Hungarian employee. 5 months later, in February, 4 more persons joined, 2 internal sales and 2 sales engineers. Everybody had a good experience on components field. So luckily, it was quite easy to start. Good team and very good background behind us. I told my colleague, I'm sure that Aero Spörle will be a really successful company in Hungary. There is only one question, with or without us. And the team started to increase. We built a really great, successful team compared to other regions too. And there was a very little fluctuation. Everybody had a kind of ownership feeling. Everybody knew that they had an important role in the company and felt responsibility. We had a very good atmosphere in the company. Just one story. It was 1 year in October. The headquarters asked the bookkeeping lady to report sick leave days. She reported, and the headquarters wrote back that they need for the whole year, not only for September. Team wrote back that these are for the whole year, from January till the end of September. So this shows that we had a very good atmosphere in the company. The bad, or rather the toxic environment makes people sick. No, Aero Hungary has 100+ employees. So I think that we are really lucky and successful. Important lesson. I think having a good team means that you need to have good people. You have to appreciate and trust your colleagues and let them fly. Give them the right of decisions most of the cases and in the same time take the responsibility. I think that we have to always ready to have team members to achieve their potential individually and as a group. We have to create a good environment with a kind of friendship, lot of humor, and do not bother them with unnecessary information. Managers should be a kind of filter. Team buildings were very important activities to get closer, to know better each other. Of course, it should be outside of the office, closer to the nature. We always had an indoor and outdoor activities, short official program, little competition, not too complicated ball game, joint planning, building, rowing. We had a dragonfly throwing, dragon ship flowing, sailing, cooking, paintball, so many things. But this should be planned that this can be done relatively easily for everyone, and everyone should be involved, even the manager. Mm-hmm. One or two presentations, not linked to the daily business, but something what could be useful for individuals and the team. My intention of that, when the team plays together, stays together, and we stayed together. There was really small fluctuation, and if somebody left the office, I always asked him for a last meeting, asking that what was good, what was bad. Normally I knew that what was the reason of leaving the company, but it was really good if somebody leaves to tell all his experience, critics, suggestions. So that's what I've learned shortly.
Yeah. So I love the wisdom from the Hungarian Santa. So, you know, the things I catch up here, I love it. You said, let them fly. And, you know, and the team building is very important. So I fully agree with those statements. And in terms of the legacy you left at Arrow, of course, they're performing fantastically. But it was not only legacy in terms of numbers, but the team and the whole effect. And, you know, I'm also part of that effect. And I remember that during your time at Arrow, when we had the privilege to work a little bit together, I think what struck me the most was your office, and actually your managerial office, because it was empty. Your desk was there, but nobody was sitting there. No one was there. Your actual desk was among the guys, and it was fantastic. So what was the reason for that, and what benefit did it bring to you and the team members?
It's nothing fantastic. It's quite normal from my side. Mm. When we started, we had one bigger room and one smaller meeting room. We were working together, close to each other, and a kind of common style developed. I mean, how to talk with customers, suppliers, with anybody. Mm-hmm. And everyone had all the information. There was nothing to hide. It's quite normal from my side, but nothing to hide. And when the team got bigger, we moved to a new office. And I got a separate office. You know what kind of office? Glass wall. You can see and check all the colleagues, but my computer display is invisible for them. And you know, when I was inside, the door was always open. But when somebody wanted to come to me, he asked, "May I come? Am I disturbing you?" It showed me that the distance between us increased. Mm-hmm. And that's what I didn't want. So imagine in this case, I'm no longer part of the information flow. I'm no longer part of the team. I left my office. Believe me, it's really not because I wanted to control them. I'm not the kind of guy that command and control. I wanted to make sure that they are working with me, not for me. Yeah. I visited some offices, and And normally, not some people I saw that they are sitting behind their glass wall, and the colleagues, they really didn't know what he's doing, what he was doing. I was asked one team that what about your manager, what he's doing? They told that he comes at 9, sitting in his office, maybe doing some mails or phone calls and sending emails to us. That's all.
That's all.
So I really wanted to make sure that they are working with me, not for me. It's a big difference. And my separate office room became a silent part, or the silent place of the office. If someone wanted to work undisturbed, could go in for hours, for days. They could do conf calls, or really, if somebody wanted to have absolutely silent place, not disturbed, went to my office and used that. What is the benefit of this? Beside the information flow, they could see how I work. Far the most effective teaching tool is the power of the manager example, for better or worse. The leader must be what he wants the team to become. Young people need models, not critics and comments. I hope they learned something better from me, because I learned a lot from them. Different people, different mindset, different reactions. I could hear great new ideas, could see who is overloaded, who has some mental problem, who needs help. And it's direct information. Upon this experience, I could make small changes in the organization. And because of this common workplace, they learned how I think, how I work. They knew my motivation. They knew what's behind my decisions, and vice versa. Interesting story. Some managers really worried about to go for a longer vacation. It was the same for me. But once I went on a vacation for 3 weeks, I was really worried about office. What kind of disaster could happen? Guess what happened?
Nothing. Everything was okay, probably.
We had extremely great 3 weeks. We'd never seen big sales and booking figures. They didn't have to wait for me. They could arrange everything because our business thinking was exactly the same. And they knew that they could decide, and I take the responsibility. Later, I tried to explain to myself that I was also there somehow. So I think that's the advantage if you sit together with your colleagues.
Regarding, the 3 weeks that you mentioned, I think it was Intel that did this in the past, that their top managers were supposed to leave for about like 8 weeks or something. And if the office had an issue that they couldn't resolve within each other, they were fired or let go, or they had more problems than, if the numbers were pretty good. So I think it was a great example from yourself.
Exactly, because if you keep all the information and you don't give anything to your colleagues, they cannot act properly.
Fully agree. And I also, when I had the privilege of my 5 minutes in the Polish office in Aero, I copied this model of sitting together with the team because I loved it so much. And speaking outside of Hungary, once we're already in Poland, I know that you spent also some time in the different offices. And out of that, what do you think is the most important factor in learning the leadership role?
I think the secret is in your question, because the most important thing for a manager to become a leader. There's one saying, your company is full of managers, but very little leaders. Companies are looking for leaders, for managers, clever, highly skilled managers. But the emotional intelligence or emotional quotient is more important than the intelligence quotient. The emotional intelligence helps managers to understand other people, what motivates them, how to work cooperatively with them. A leader must be filled with energy, eagerness, joy, love for what he does. Emotional intelligence controls your own emotions, and managers should have a kind of aura, calm and security. Therefore, I told to our future managers that never lose your temper. And don't want to be the smartest guy who knows everything better than anyone else. You need smarter colleagues than you, and you have to acknowledge them. Some managers believe that this information should not be shared, as we mentioned before. I should keep all the information. This makes me meaningful. Information is really the power. A good leader never competes with his subordinates, never tries to be better than someone else. Of course, never lies, never cheats. Be honest, tell the truth. People do not leave bad jobs, they leave bad managers. It doesn't matter how good is your job. If you have a bad manager, toxic atmosphere, you leave. Better to have a lousy, shitty job with a great manager. We spend half of our life at work, and our supervisor or advisor determines the atmosphere. Most of the time, if an employee has an issue with the company, it is something relating to his boss. Life is too short to spend 40 plus hours in a week in constant stress. A good leader has to know that employees are greatest valuable asset. Never forget this. One of the biggest mistake for most of the managers, not treating their team well, not treating them like a valuable asset. You have to treat the team with respect. Most of the employees would work hard there if their efforts were better recognized and appreciated. Everything starts with treating employees well. Sometimes it's little things we do count the most. We always have to acknowledge employees' efforts and contributions openly. So let them know how much we value them. Very important to listen to them. Listen to them because they say clever things. And very important to give regular feedback. I don't talk about the EPR. EPR is a good tool, but to meet once the colleague and tell all the good and bad things, I think it's too late. Act on the same day, same time when he makes something better or worse. I've read somewhere that ideally we have to get praise at least once a week. The beauty of praise is that it's cost-free. One just has to admit that other makes something very good. Normally, we are expecting praise from the boss. But interesting that the praise from colleagues, peers, it has greater importance. We feel it more authentic. Somehow, a manager has to reach that recognizing the activities of other colleagues should become a common practice of the team. It helps a lot. It makes really friendly, familiar team. Something like this.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. So if I would summarize this, and by the way, the EPR that you were talking about is a yearly review, just for the audience.
Yes, sorry. Employee performance review.
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, stay open-minded. You know, if you are the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's
Yeah,
one.
absolutely. And the team will be really bad team.
Give feedback. Remember about the emotional part, and I would say especially this is valid for us Eastern Europeans, that we are a little bit probably more emotional than the other parts of our continent.
Yeah, that's also noticed.
Yeah, and give praise, because praise is important. And I would say especially this year, I think people understood this, because a lot of things we had normally, we took them for granted. And now they're taken off, like even leaving the building and going to visit and go, or when you're quarantined, going for a grocery. So be thankful, because remember what you have, be thankful. And this also gets back to giving the praise. Yeah, so I think these are fantastic points. Well, thank you very much for, you see, it's always get to good wisdom from the Hungarian Santa. Come on. Perfect.
I was also not so good to praise my colleagues, so that's my negative side. And it's typical for managers that they think that if somebody does his best, it's quite normal. Of course, that's what we are rating. But we have to praise our colleague and each other.
And I think you're a little bit hard on yourself. I think they knew, because you're a fantastic leader for them. Yeah, always a smile, Chaba. Always a smile. I assume, but going back to the situation in the market, I assume this year was not the most for you and Magyar Electronica, but I do hope you came out stronger out of that and you look forward to the 2021. Therefore, I wanted to ask you, what do you think is on the close horizon in the electronics industry? Okay, it's a tough one.
Thanks. It's easy. It's very easy, but I'm not a future teller.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that electronics will recover. We can see the signs.
Mm-hmm.
In Q3, the components market trend looks much better. I was talking with several companies, and they see the light, the end of the tunnel. What is really great? Automation. The crisis accelerated the transition to automation and digitalization. We can hear from customers that many budgets have been frozen, except budget for automation. And think about the advanced robotics. It's a great development. Artificial intelligence will influence the electronics industry to become more smart, more efficient, reliable. Smart home, smart city, everything smart. And for automation, you need a lot of different sensors, computing power, cloud, edge computing, controllers, different boards. I think that automation is a really good territory to develop. Think about the healthcare. I think that we see the biggest, almost the biggest development in healthcare. Medical instruments and instrumentation runs like hell. And the healthcare is ideal place for robotics, robots. Autonomous robots, for example, are used for hospitals to perform tasks like secure delivering medicine, transporting meals, disposing trash or hazardous waste. Robots are able to serve in areas. Pick up trash, bring medicine to patients, and I never heard about social distance between robots. There is no carrying or risk of infection. We could see a big development in UVC light disinfection equipments and robots. Hospitals are obviously really the target market that could benefit from robotics. Electronic vehicles, electronic cars. In this year, only e-cars sales numbers could increase. I think market share from 3% last year will increase to 10% this year, and hopefully 15% next year. Unfortunately, half of the electric cars sold are this rarely charged, highly polluting SUVs. But it looks that a lot of countries will stop selling cars with combustion engine till 2030. And the so-called fake electric plug-in hybrid versions latest 2035. It means that the electronic car will come. Self-driving cars, Tesla, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, come with a lot of electronics. I've just read that Daimler, together with BMW, wants to launch driverless robot taxis in the next years. So, great development. Just think about the deliveries. Because of the command, because of the COVID, the demand is rising for robots to have deliver everything from groceries to medicine. Complete mobile delivery orders without anyone needing to touch. And there is an ongoing development in communication and safe communication. We need it everywhere. So concerning electronics, I'm really optimistic. I'm almost 100% sure that we will have big development in electronics and related. So for me, electronics means everything. That's my feeling.
Yeah. So it seems in the short horizon you're talking more about the automation, probably the robotics, but the long term you're talking about the electric cars, the self-driving cars, etc., etc. And also, all of that will be probably under the big influence of sensors.
Big influence of sensors, big influence of components, and really the communication, the safe communication, without hackers, without viruses. Viruses against the electronics and against us.
It seems like we're trying to, well, maybe not winning, but at least we're, we have our gloves and we're fighting this. So we're on the positive trend, I believe.
I think so.
Csaba, thank you.
We should be absolutely positive. I'm optimistic.
Yes, I agree with you. This is, we had this year, we survived. Now we have the positive thinking for the next one. I would like to thank you very much for your time for this discussion, especially for being, the super extraordinary guest for this last episode of the year. Thank you very much.
I told you.
No, I'm happy that I didn't have.
I'm really happy that I could really participate on this whole but not alone program. So I really appreciate that you called me, you asked me, you are interested in me. So I really thanks for it.
Always a pleasure, Csaba, always. So thank you again. Thank you very much. I wish you happy holidays and a great start for the next year. All the best, Csaba. Thank you.
Thank you, Orek.
Thank you, audience. Take
Merry
care.
Christmas and Happy New Year to you, your family, friends, and everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Stay healthy. Good luck.